Musically.
Welcome to Relationship Soup. I am your host, Lisa Hughes. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. I am so happy to have you all here. Tonight, we have a great show lined up. I'm going to be talking all things relationship with self and agriculture with special guests Stebo and Chris Duckett. They are also known as the Haughville Homestead Couple, and they are also founders of the Urban Agriculture and Industries LLC. I also have Jukobie Russell, who is the CEO of Knowledge Based Solutions LLC. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and add these dynamic souls to the stage. I'm so happy to have y'all. Thank y'all for joining us. How are y'all doing today?
Well, bless.
Word.
Thank you.
Word. So glad to have you. So I'm so looking forward. I've been looking forward to this show. I know that it's going to be informative because these are things that people need to know. What y'all are doing on the daily basis, y'all are affecting the masses. Y'all are growing food. Y'all are just giving us a hope for the future. So I'm so glad to have y'all. All right, so let's go ahead and get into it. So can you tell our listeners, like, introduce yourselves, share your backgrounds, and just kind of tell us what inspired your journeys?
Well, I'm Stebo, my aunt. I'm your neighborhood activist, revolutionary of the spiritual variety. Um, I'm founder of my which is the Kemetic Rastafari temple. We identify as Kemetic Rastafari, and our movement is really to restore balance to life. And my aunt being those principles, meaning truth, justice, honor, reciprocity, morality, and order. Everything being in alignment with the cosmic order and natural process, because my aunt was the first spirituality known to man. So it was observation of the natural processes of life, and the processes of, life and death and renewal, regeneration, all that. So everything in life was in observation and in keeping of that order and of that balance. So there's no separation of, everyday life to life, or, what was called secular, or, the spirituality. It was life. It was a way of life, way of living. And everybody lived according to that code and did their best not to disrupt it. So we in our movement are trying to restore that balance to life and bring it back to family. And in Ma'at 9, we say that our religion is revolution and our faith is in family. We build when we worship, and we worship when I build. When we build, so our work is our worship. Um, we basically we try to educate our community, educate people about about possibilities of being able to live self-sufficiently and build the self-determined community that we need. Because right now, with everything being the way it is, we suffer more than others, and unnecessarily so, because we're dependent on a construct that wasn't designed by us or for us. But we want acceptance to it, but we're always mistreated and a lot of times exploited in that in the so we're trying to find a way to operate outside of that. And as we said, we need to do something like get like the Amish. They're not worried about votes. They're not talking about Democrat, Republican, liberal, conservative. None of that means anything. They have their people. They know who they are, and they deal with themselves. And that's where we need to be. And we've kind of lost and got away from that, and we want to live an unnatural existence. So, Ma'at 9 is our movement, and what we're trying to do with the people is awaken that consciousness, that awareness. You know, and this is
Okay.
my reflection, Chris.
I'm Chris.
And
I'm Chris. I'm a teacher, educator, counselor. What we do here is really try to show people a different way of living. Um, we want to make sure that people know that you don't have to be confined to the programmed or the typical way of life, and that you can be more free with different options. And we do that. One way we do that is by educating people how to grow food in their own space in a way that gives back to the planet and it's regenerative and not sustainable. Um, and I teach during the day to kids. I teach them our farming program, and they're so excited about learning all
she's
that.
really kind of being humble though, baby. We're in how many schools though?
3.
3 schools, and we get our program Sustainable Saturdays, which is something I guess we're going through later. But that was our
Yeah.
community workshop that we do that we've done for teaching the community and showing them regenerative ways of growing their food. And
Mm-hmm.
3 of the elementary schools here in Indianapolis now have actually bought units from us and institute our program.
Mm-hmm.
So
And then I also do a lot of the building too. He's the master gardener, but I do a lot of the builds that go on.
All right. All right. Beautiful.
Awesome. I'm Jukobie Russell again, as you see the screen there. The owner operator of Knowledge Based Solutions. Um, we are an education and consulting LLC company, and it's multifaceted. Everything from student academics, social media management, and then one of just to name a couple, but one of our biggest interests right now is the Mayat 9 and the agricultural um, investment that they're making into the communities. I felt like that being a part of something as big as this was very important to get the word out. The relationship, as we here on this platform, relationship soup, which I appreciate. Thank you, bless you, Lisa. Um, is was important to me to help to try to make the connection between the two, because we as people have a poor relationship with our food, we have a poor relationship with our sustainability, we have a poor relationship with our mindset and our thought process as it pertains to not just only survival but thriving. So Knowledge Based Solutions fully supports and is connected with Maya 9, and I look forward to very very major things to come in the future. This is a beginning, and I definitely feel like we're going to look back and say, the first podcast we were on was Relationship Soup, and look where we're at now.
Right.
Absolutely. All right. Claiming that. Claiming at that. So, for our listeners, like, what's the difference between regenerative and sustainable agriculture? Like, can y'all break that down? Just tell us some of the key differences.
sustainable is kind of like the buzzword, but sustainable really means to kind of kind of maintain in a means, a way of getting what you need without taking from the future is what it's supposed to be. So it can, you're not hurting yourself by gaining or reaping a resource. Um, but the way things are right now, we've been doing things in such an unsustainable way because everything we have been doing, reaping and growing, there's been a cost, and that cost has been degradation of the soil, degradation of the resources. So that's really not sustainable. Sustainable, regenerative takes it a little further, because regenerative is about repairing those effects, those factors that have impacted the environment and impacted the food production system. So when we look at regenerative, it's really going to be a lot of focus on soil, rebuilding the soil, because if you don't have the soil, the soil is responsible for most of the food production, 85 over 90% of the food production. So when we look at what goes on in the soil with the microbiomes, the fungi, and the biomatter, all that makes up the soil, we are disrupting the soil and degrading it, because we want to do an unnatural process to live an unnatural means of food production. It wasn't meant for us to reap and sow or harvest monocultural crops, having acres of land of just one kind of crop. That's unnatural. Nature doesn't exist in that order. There's diversity. So regenerative focuses on biodiversity. That's one of the key factors of regenerative agriculture is biodiversity, soil health, and
conservation.
water conservation. That's one aspect of it. All that is reserving those resources. So and then you have applications of it that can go in it. They can call sustainable, as far as and the no-till, and these are the practices that are applied to regenerative. But the effect of it is, when you make a reference to regenerative, is actually the effect of it versus the actual means of acquiring that goal. You know what I mean? So sustainable is to basically to maintain things as they are. Regenerative is to go a step further and to repair the damage from things that we've done prior to that. So for the future, there's an actual chance, where we're not depleting the soil, that the kids in 30, 40 years from now won't have to face, famine or the water scarcity issue that we're facing as we are right now.
All right. How does consumer demand actually causes us to have to look at this approach, right? Because this is being sustainable, it's just not going to work for the long run. Is that what I'm understanding?
Indeed. With that word sustainable in the economic model that we're in,
Hmm.
that means that it means profitability, really, and that's the big factor inside of this. And it shouldn't be that way. Food and life should not be commoditized, or shouldn't be a value placed on what it takes to sustain that. So when we look at water, and we look at the food, and we look at the air, these are things that are needed, that are necessary for life. So it's really inhumane to say that we're going to put a price tag on what something costs, and then we'll control the means of production by that, in which that you don't really have much say in it. You're going to get what can be yielded at least amount of input plus cost to yield the maximum profit for the producer. And then you come up paying the cost on that end. You make up for that, the difference in healthcare. You know what I mean? So really, our goal should be about our demand is a factor that drives the production and the resources, because every product requires those resources. So even if you're looking at a book or those things consume natural resources to be consumed, but not because somebody needed it right then and there. Because we need to put this in stock in a warehouse somewhere for the potential that someone might need these products later on. You know what I mean? So we're using more than we need. We're taking more than we need to support an economic model, an unnatural way of life. So our demand, by our consumption, is driving the demand for these products. So now like an allegory I make is a bobblehead factory. You know, a person can now he can make a living, you know, by working in the bobblehead factory, but those bobblehead factories being produced are being created with necessary life-giving resources that are needed for sustaining life, but where people can't even get clean water in other parts of the world, and even our own cities here in the U.S., like Mississippi, in Jackson, Mississippi, or Flint, Michigan. But we have these industries who can go and get first rights, water rights to the resources, and actually deplete these water resources for the means of producing a product that's unnecessary, that's unhealthy. Coca-Cola can get water rights to produce Coca-Cola, and we know what soda does to us and how negative it is. But this is this takes precedent over life, you know. So, by us fueling that and thinking that we need these products and consuming in that way, we produce the demand for it, and we have to change our mindset and our so-called living accommodate a better life. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I like to, I like to add to that. I like
Absolutely.
that
Oh, no,
a word that you had mentioned or a phrase you had mentioned was consumer demand. One of the problems I think that we have as humans here on this planet, especially here in the this corporation we call America, is that we are too concerned about consuming. And what Stebo and Kristin has been able to do has been able to show many people. The platform right now is a little bit bigger because we're on the internet. But what they've been able to show a lot of people is that you can consume without having to necessarily uh, just like go to someone who's producing, like a store, a brick and mortar, or whatever the case may be, at Amazon or wherever you want to get your food from. And we have been so used to having that relationship with consuming, and versus what they've been able to show is that even in small spaces, you can feed almost an entire neighborhood, and we don't have to worry about going to a Meijer or going to a Kroger where foods are, like you said, producing mass consumption and they're not healthy for us. They're growing completely organic fruits and vegetables and things of that nature that are being consumed by people like us themselves and people that we and everyone in the organization is able to reach. And the consuming part and the demand, I think, is where we are losing our focus, and it's really driving us behind because we're so concerned about just consuming something and then moving on versus how do we sustain and how do we regenerate what we have, and versus continue to pay out of our pocket for something that we can actually regenerate in our own backyards, in pots in our own front yards, or pots on our porches and things of that nature. There's a lot of money that can be. The demand would go down tremendously if people were growing their own food.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So besides being able to grow your own food, like what can list our listeners and what can people do to support this movement? Like what are some things that we can do?
Well, we have like you can go in there and check out our website. We have our book. Um, we have our um,
We have our Sustainable Saturday
Same Saturdays
program.
program to actually teach people.
We do that in person and we do that virtually. It's actually a really in-depth and a very informative group of modules. It's 7 of them, and they take you from the very beginning of the growing phase where you're planning out your space, because a lot of times people don't realize the important step is the planning of the space. How much space do you want to grow in? How much food are you going to need per person in the house? What is everybody going to eat? And even when things need to be planted. So planning out your garden beforehand, and then all the way up until natural garden maintenance, harvesting the right way, because there's particular ways that you harvest certain things, when you harvest them, when it's going to be the best quality, and then take you all the way up into overwintering, where we're putting things in jars and storing them, and we're prepping the garden space for the winter time. It's a really informative course. People can so they can gain education virtually. They can gain education in person with our workshops that we have. Usually in the summertime, we'll be planning more coming up here soon. But
About that. And our objective right now, our initiative is to really to bring the Ma'at Urban Food Network. And our model is to revolutionize the food production model. Like I said, we instead of having so few provide for everyone, and that imbalance that comes from commoditizing food and the resources, now have more community-based food production where instead of having one large farm, we have more. Imagine we had a garden on every block or every block. We can saturate our neighborhoods, our communities with food production and have, whole food, natural food, healing food there in our communities where we need them. And so we want to be able to also go around and teach this. We have our online course, we do our workshops, but was key and instrumental in that is being able to move around and do that. So we've purchased a trailer. We're trying to get it outfitted and get it ready for the road. Do some things to it to kind of upgrade a little bit, and also looking to get a truck, a diesel truck, so we can pull it. But we're looking to have that truck converted to run off used cooking oil. So by using used cooking oil, that's a regenerative method of actually being able to move, because we can take waste and use that, repurpose it by using it, also not doing any damage to the environment, but also modeling another way of another industry, a possible industry. Because what we need to do in our community is instead of being such consumers, we need to be more producers of things and creating industries that make us leaders of certain industry. Where we can provide power. We got solar power installation. We can do regenerative construction practices. Because regenerative goes into also construction. You know, um, things like that. We can do and create these industries and become masters and become the mark for the standard for these regenerative and renewable technologies that we need, and create a community around that that's actually centered around that, where in this community we can create a learning community where we skill share and trade these skills amongst ourselves, like how the Amish do, and become a learning community. So our movement in doing what we're doing right now is multifaceted. There's a lot of parts to it, and it's expensive. But our need right now is to be able to get mobile, to be able to get out. So we have our partnership with the LFPA and through some of our other Black farmers around the state, that we're going around and helping them on their farms as they help us. And we're trying to create that network and also create a food distribution, a food system for us. So we're actually securing the food and distributing food throughout the state and throughout our regional area. So we have our brethren up in Fort Wayne, Ty Simmons with the Human Agricultural Co-op, who actually has the food truck. I mean the box truck and the refrigeration, and handles the logistics delivery. So like he says, if you want lobsters from Africa, I can get them for you in a week. But yeah, so and then we have our brother Malik Yanini in Detroit, who actually has the Detroit People's Food Co-op there, which is a huge Black-owned store. A cooperative. I think it's how many members? 2,000 members, I think. Fully Black, and the biggest thing going on, really, movement in Detroit in the past 40, 50 years. But by being able to touch and connect and create this food network, or this food sovereignty is it's the movement. Black food sovereignty is our movement. By creating this sovereign network that we can operate independently and not dependent of the construct as it is, where we're going to be subject to whatever the conditions are. If they shut down the grocery stores tomorrow, we're kind of hit. We don't know what to do, where we're gonna get our food from. And a lot of us live in areas where there is no food or really good options, and the food is controlled. So even the condition of the food you get, the Kroger's on the south side is not going to be the same Kroger's you get off in 86 and Elsinore. So
Mhm.
these are factors into our food that we need to take control of. And if you can't feed yourself, how can you lead yourself? You're always going to be in a position of dependency. So we got to create that, and it starts with the food, but it's bigger than food.
Absolutely.
To bring that full circle, one thing that you can do to kind of further answer your question is just follow those two people right there.
I know that's right. Absolutely. We do have a comment and we do have a question from our listeners. Um, Consumerism has been the detriment of modern society, depleting our natural resources. Organic used to be the norm until companies adapted the ideology of mass production.
Indeed.
Absolutely. Now there is a question for the couple. What are your thoughts on eating certain foods that is beneficial to your blood type? Are y'all up on that at all?
No, not much. I follow the plant-based diet, and that's the model that we're on, eating live and electric food.
Oh,
Um, I'm familiar with the philosophies, and there's so many different schools of thought on different ways to eat and all that. But yeah, as a valid point, I wanted to touch on the brother said about the consumerism. You know, hold up your hand. You know, that's your stomach.
okay.
That's the size of your stomach. So really, anything over that, you're overeating, you're over consuming.
Mm,
And that's relative to everything that goes on in our life. That this mass production of talking about the organic, because now it's a means of being able to capitalize on the market, and that's how they viewed it. So now it could be bought, it could be paid for. Now it's compromised, and on top of that, for us to really have a healthy option or real option of food, then we have to be in direct contact. Food has to be next to us, has to be close to us in proximity. If we're going and growing it mad, it's not sustainable in as far as healthy goes of being the best, because you're not getting live food. They've had to pick it 4 or 5 weeks, sometimes prior to it being ripe. So by the time you get it and consume it, it's already in a state of decay. So by us uh, um, creating this need for trying to market food or making it market, that's part of the problem in itself. Food is not something we should be having as a consumer product. Food is life.
And I wanted to touch on the comment about eating for your blood type. I'm
mhm,
a that we as people of melanin and people of the sun should be eating a particular type of diet, whether that's blood related. I'm sure it's blood related. But for me, I feel that we should be eating a particular type of way. I think that a lot of the food pyramid um, ideals of our diet system, especially the American diet system, tend to be
Sad.
counterproductive. They tend to be
absolutely.
everything opposite of what you really, really should be doing. Is even the time of day that you're eating, the quantity that you're eating, mixing different vegetables. I didn't know you're not supposed to mix fruits and vegetables together.
Absolutely.
Um, so certain things like that, like when you go to the food pyramid, you see all these things: carbs you're supposed to have, dairy you're supposed to have, meat that you're supposed to have, and then you're supposed to have on your plate all of those things and fruits and vegetables. And really, if you think about that model and you kind of do a little bit of research, you find out that a lot of that stuff is not good for you, and
Now you
then the
got indigestion.
combination of it is not good for you, and that's what causes a lot of health problems. Is the food that we intake. And like you were saying, the whole organic term has been bought, so now you can't say organic unless you have
You pay for it.
paid for it.
Mhm.
And those people have paid for it aren't isn't necessarily organic. What it is that it's a particular type of pesticide or a particular type of chemicals that
It's
they use on it
minimized.
that are more carbon based or are less, but they're still pesticides. Vegetables, they're still that are done to organic. Best thing you can do is to grow your own
Grow
food.
your own.
Grow your own. That's the only tell for sure that things there are 100% the right way.
Know your grower. That's another thing. So if you know anybody that grows food, create a relationship. That's another thing. It's all about relationships. So in our community, it used to be a time where everybody knew somebody that had a garden. When
Mm,
I grew up, everybody around me had gardens. So it was not anything different for me to see people exchanging food, and giving food. I got too many greens, take some of these greens over here, take some of these beans, I got some of these carrots over here. I want some of these, that was creating community and that security, by having that. And if we can grow our own food, that is one less thing that we have to worry about consuming or spending our energy and time on trying to get, to trying to get some money to pay for some food. If we can lessen that burden, then that kind of will alleviate the stress of us having to pay for our existence. And that's kind of where my job kind of took off on everything that I'm doing now, because being a single father, and I'm raising three of my children at a time, and raising them struggling because the economy is real. I didn't make over $10 an hour until I was like 30 years old. Um, I was a felon, and trying to work to provide for them. Often I'm working 2-3 jobs. I'm a bouncer at nightclubs at nighttime. 4 or 5 nights a week. Then during the morning time, I'm working at the gas station. Early morning. While they're at school. Then I'm trying to spend a little time with them, but spread
Losing that.
myself thin, and then only having the bare minimum. So a realization to me kind of struck, like, well, let me just start a garden. I grew up growing gardens, and working in the garden, and kind of resented it then, but at that time it's a different perspective. I'm seeing it. I'm here with my children. I'm raising them, and they need good food. And man, I'm killing myself, but I barely. Sometimes you gotta choose whether you're gonna eat or wash clothes. And that's the reality in our inside this construct. In our community, a lot more often than not. So having that, I don't if how I'm be able to get to work, if I'm be able to wash clothes, if I'm be able to get something to eat, if I got to be able to pay for, my children, if they got a field trip or something, these kind of things are stress factors that we live under a constant trauma in our community. So the idea is to try to alleviate that as best as possible. And starting with the food is an easy way to do it. That's the entry level to self-sufficiency and independence.
If I can add to that, Lisa, if you don't mind.
Absolutely, please.
Um, so one of the things that Stebo was talking about is the fact that we are doing, this 9 to 5 struggle and hustle, or even in entrepreneurship, you're working, even more than that, but you're losing a relationship with your children. You're losing a relationship with your significant others because you're spending so much time trying to provide, not only, let's just keep it at what we're talking about, just food. It's not even healthy for them, and then they're growing up in these spaces where there is a lot of trauma, and then they don't understand how to respond instead of reacting to those traumas. Me being an educator, a long time educator, one of the things I know that any educator worth is their weight can tell you is the best time to even have any type of communal relationship with your children or your significant others or the people in your community is over a meal. And that's when you can learn the most about people, and being able to have, say, okay, well, I can cut my food bill down to, practically nothing almost, I guess I'm speaking figuratively here, but almost practically nothing. Well, now I don't have to work, the second job, because now I can provide food for my family. And not only am I providing food for my family, but my children, my family, my significant other, the community is helping me grow this space. It's helping me, to build this space of healthy foods. Now you are building relationships inside of communities that are going to reduce crime. You're building relationships with inside of your family that's going to reduce, the negative aspects that happen with children in school. You're going to grow these type of relationships, that are going to help, regenerate, positivity instead of always, going through this trauma and hustle and bustle. So I think that's an important piece of being able to, have this aspect of, or have this mindset of, reducing going to get and excelling, building. Therefore, you have a stronger relationship with everything around you. With that, having everything around you in a stronger relationship, everything comes down to something that's more godlike.
I just want to tag on that real quick, because it really comes back to talking about the consumerism. We are chasing a standard in our life that we're told that you're supposed to have this house, you're supposed to have this kind of, to have these kind of clothes, and so we spend a lot of our time and our energy into on this job trying to chase this standard, and that's taken away from the quality of our life and our relationships that we have with people in our homes, because everybody has to be this unit of production. You know what I mean? So the quality of life is the great living an unnatural existence, because it's not meant for you to be a specialized purpose day in and day out, 10, 12 hours a day, come home, spent. Now you don't really have anything left to give your children or give to yourself, or let alone your mate, and that's imbalance. So we are social beings, and being people are supposed to be in families and structure that have that bond. We don't get that being in this construct that we're in, because everything is about this money. So if I can lessen any way or any kind of way if I have to of that burden, then that alleviates the stress me having to do that. So I get some of my time back. So now I can spend that time with spend time with my family. Otherwise, I'm out here, I'm chasing the bag. Yeah, it looks good that I got this car. I can take these pictures and put them on the book. But little Ron is terrorizing the neighborhood, because he ain't got
a relationship with them.
You know what I mean? You know, little Renisha, saying she out here hollering ski yee, and all in the streets, trying to be too grown. This is too much, but we don't have a relationship with ours, because we can't be there for them while we are struggling. And then when they see us come home, that's not what I want to be. I don't want to go through that. So
Mhm.
whatever talking about, whatever mom's talking about, I'm cool on that. What they talking about on this TV or in this video, man, that's what's up. That look like the life. And this is all they do and all they talk about. Okay.
Okay.
Let this I'm gonna chase the lifestyle. They take that with the money that we're chasing going. So I'd rather shortcut from what you going through, pops, to go this way to get to look like that, and that's where we at. So if we have to come back to a mindset of what we really need, and with this consumerism and us trying to purchase our validation versus
Mhm.
really trying to be a solid person of character, and going within and knowing ourselves, we spend so much of time trying to distract away from our own pain, or trying to numb that our existence is so miserable. We rather be distracted or trying to purchase our validity. Like, yeah, I'm miserable, but look what I got. Look at this, and don't just look good. So it makes me feel good but I'm a struggle every day making this car payment. That I'm driving this car just to and from work, or I'm coming to this apartment that I pay all this money for. I'm only here just to sleep, or these clothes that now I'm putting on. I'm taking pictures. I can only wear them one time. I took them all over social media, so everybody can't see them again. But I didn't put hours of my life into these items, these products.
Mhm.
Hey, what's your life worth? Because when you're going to that job, you have now guarded your life, your energy. So if it takes me 35 hours to purchase, you know, this the whatever item it is, what I mean? I got to look at it in reality. If it takes me $100, how many hours of my life does it equate for me to go and get this item? So
Mhm.
now my life, or I'm using, it's really kind of asinine. So the connection to it is another drain and draw on the resources, because it's not needed. It's unnecessary for us to live this way, this level, but we think it's needed because it's been presented to us that way. So we're caught up in the consumption.
What relationships are more important?
Time is the most valuable. Yes.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yep.
So, were you going to add something? I'm sorry.
No, I mean that right there. That statement is so valid and relevant. I mean, time is the most valuable thing you got. 'Cause you don't get any more. Once it's gone, it's gone, and what you doing with it it's the most valuable thing you got. But wait for so cheap just to be comfortable. You know what I mean, really it's really kind of it's insane to really think about. Like, we know it, but we don't really put it in perspective or really operate as if we know that. We it's just we acquiesce to it, because what else we gonna do? We just go along to get along. I'd rather just so and then the sickness is we know we're uncomfortable with it. We don't like it, but we'll brag about it. I got this second job, or I'm going to do this, or but you grind it, grind it, grind it. I'm an entrepreneur, but the business we have, you don't have any employees, so you give yourself another job and you're working 13, 14 hours a day now instead of, I mean, and
Mm-hmm.
still but because we chase this standard, we have these pseudo celebrations of things we can purchase. We think it makes it worth it because everybody else validates, the bovine feces.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Absolutely. One of our listeners, Dr. Sebi, teaching were critical to teaching the African American community, especially food as medicine.
Respect to the ancestor. Yeah, I'll follow his teaching, So I'm in alignment with the Sadie, school of thought,
The more alkaline diet,
the
less
alkaline. Yes,
acidic.
yes.
Removing, because the idea too is to remove acidic things from your body and your diet. Because, like I was saying before, a lot of the things that we've been geared toward eating are things that are more acidic to our body. And with Dr. Sabi's teaching, as far as what you should be eating that is more alkaline to your body, it's more, and it kind of goes towards that question that somebody had asked before, as far as like, do we eat for our blood type? We
Okay.
don't eat for our blood type. We eat for our body type. I say us melanated people, and Dr. Sabi was a great teacher in that. I don't know. He spoke on our people's body type because he was a
Blood
professional in
types.
our body type. So we can't really say what those people and other people's culture is been able to do and been able to take and intake, because they've had to do
They've
different
adjusted
things and
there.
had to adjust it, over time to be able to eat certain things. So the things that they've eaten are not necessarily the things that we've eaten, and we might not necessarily be able
So
to handle those same
you
things.
can't feed you can't feed the tiger with what you feed the polar already. The polar bear,
Yeah.
how Dr. said, you, you can't, different things, different people were in different regions, so your body function
Mhm.
at a different, like you can't. There's different places where you're in where there's no vegetation, so that body people have to adjust to that climate or to them surroundings to be able to consume what is there was available to them. So, you know,
Mm-hmm.
some people can even eat raw meat, you know, to each his own. But I just know what we should be on, and what I find what works for us is the teaching of Dr. Sabi, and and
More
along that
alkaline diet.
being alkaline, it makes sense. Understanding that when you consume the meat, that's the uric acid, the bread, the starches, that's the carbolic acid, and then your dairy, that's the lactic acid. So anytime you consume these acidic foods, your body reacts trying to protect itself from forming this mucus, and all disease comes from that.
Mhm.
You get that sickness in you, and we don't realize it until we really take a break from it, and then we start noticing that, and like, man, I'm not coughing this stuff up, my back ain't hurt, and you start feeling these things, but your body's actually clean out and actually function, doing what it's supposed to. But a lot of the stuff that we put in our bodies is not even food anymore, it's just food stuff.
Yeah.
Like Dr. Tahuti Mottral used to say, it's food stuff, food product. Something that's made in the science lab, you look at the label and you can't produce, or you can't even pronounce it. You don't know
Mm-hmm.
what it is either. So that same potato put on a shelf and it will rot, in a couple of weeks, or whatever, just sitting on a shelf. But you can take that same potato and put it inside of a bag and some other mixture of chemicals, and it's gonna last for over a year, or last for what is it doing inside of my body then when I consume it? And we,
Absolutely.
we we have to consider that. So, and that's part of the realization of what's natural and what's outside of order. We're trying to live away by outside of what's the natural order. We still have our food to be direct from it, or direct live food, because
The
once you get in
connection.
this state of decay, it's decaying. Your body needs live food. So when it goes to snatch those, it's like going to the junkyard for your body parts instead of going to the dealership or going to the manufacturer. And so when your body goes to get those nutrients that it needs to rebuild itself, repair itself, you're repairing it with old parts and things that's broken and falling apart,
Ready.
and inflamed and everything else, instead of getting new and reproducing new cells. Now your body dies and getting old and breaking down. start feeling and suffering an unnatural ailment, which is an imbalance with this, which is the dis-ease, in your body. And that's how, Dr. Sabi really explained it. And that is in line with, everything that we find to be true.
He
Absolutely.
also he also said improve the everything that we need to heal ourselves and to live as God already gave to us. It's already on this earth. So anytime that you're adding stuff to it, these food products and stuff, you're not helping yourself. The relationship that you have with your body is critical. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna keep dropping that word relationship because we are on one of the hottest platforms in America, Relationship Soup. But I think that point needs to be made sure that we continue to embed that as the fact that this is a talk about the relationship you have with your body, the relationship you have with your health, your children, your community. All this stuff comes from what you consume inside of your body, makes you who you are. When a true statement is, it's a cliche, but a true statement is you are what you eat. So the
That's
relationship you
right.
have doing, is very important.
I
Yeah,
think another statement was, if you ain't eating right, you ain't thinking right. Right.
Right.
That
A-
part,
Absolutely.
because a lot
Let's.
connected to our mental health for sure. And you look at kids, that's why they because Jukobie and I are both educators. We're in the schools during the day, outside of our personal businesses, and we see the children and we see the difference in how they act and how the food makes a big difference.
Absolutely. And I'm in education as well. And I've had a chance to work with like K through 12. I'm a professor now, right? But in my experiences K through 12, I am looking at this food like ain't nothing on this tray good for these kids. Not the milk, not, I mean, it's not balanced. And then it's just, it was really unnerving for me to actually see that, because I'm aware of, like, the alkaline lifestyle and different things like that. And actually I believe that's what has helped me to maintain my health and different things like that. I do a lot of intermittent fasting too. Like 3 meals a day is like a no for me. It
Mhm.
doesn't help me. And I never believed, it never set right with me to eat that much food in a day. I mean, everybody's different. I ain't knocking your lifestyle. Disclaimer, do you do what's right for your lifestyle. But eating 3 times a day for me, it doesn't, I feel sluggish. And, I just can attest. And I also go to a holistic doctor. I take herbs daily, right? So I know the power of, holistic um, herbs and alkaline eating. Now, I ain't gonna act like I'm perfect because I'm still a work in progress. But I just wanted to confirm that I can also say that it does work, so let's see here. Someone else says, my grandfather also taught me, don't live to eat to live.
Indeed.
Absolutely.
Indeed. Because we want to eat what we want to eat when we want to eat it. So, you want to eat avocados, and live in Maine, and they're gonna grow the avocados in the desert. You know,
Mhm.
think about the consumption, how it affects. Where we have to take water, a natural body of water, and divert it to be able to put water into the desert where it's not originally, and then to grow a very water heavy, water demanding heavy crop like avocados, to grow them in the desert of all places. And that's the reality right now, but our demand drives that, you know
Mhm.
that's just another part of the problem, though.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, what are some of the challenges that you two have faced? Like, just with what you do, like, what are some of the challenges that you have faced?
Really, finding real support kind of hard because people have a full understanding why things are necessary. A lot of people in this realm are in it for a profit. There's a lot of not for profits per se, but a lot of people in this try to make a living. And what we're trying to do is trying to actually create or actually provoke
Mhm.
another awareness and consciousness to actually do something different, and why it's necessary to do things different instead of just doing the same old. We're gonna keep getting what we've been getting. So we're trying to actually revolutionize, and people don't have a real appreciation for what we try or what we contribute or what we're trying to do, because a lot of people can't see it until they see it, you know. So we've been our biggest goal has been trying to produce the model so it can be, and then people give them something to kind of, oh, I get it, I see it. That's how we've been kind of momentum. So it's been really kind of hard to find people like-minded who actually see the value or the need for what needs to be, and that's been kind of like the biggest factor right now. So to make people understand why it's necessary, that's been the hardest thing, to try to get that support.
Yeah.
I want to add to that, Lisa.
Absolutely.
Thank you. One of the things is, as you know, this 4-panel production here, actually, or 4-people production here, or 4-people panel, excuse me, production here is actually 4 educators. And one of the things that we struggle with when we're trying to, like Stebo and Chris are trying to do, and even yourself and myself, is one of the things we struggle with as far as the problem is the fact that the society here in this corporation we call America is so intense and so intent on making sure that you are completely distracted, and then so much so that you start to believe the lie that you see every day. Therefore, you teach that to your children and they grow up, and then you look at someone like a Steve or a Chris and you say, nah, that ain't for me. What do you mean? Life and health is not for you. I don't like in my classroom. I'm trying to be very brief here, but like in my classroom, I don't allow any type of hot Cheetos, anything of that nature. Like I literally throw them away. There's contraband in my classroom because it's not healthy and it's bad. But you have people who are teaching their kids that this is an okay snack, this is fine, but really it's breaking down your brain, it's breaking down your body, it's causing these behaviors, it's causing all these kind of dysfunctions in your life. But one of the biggest problems is the fact that, in this corporation we call America, we are being programmed constantly to be distracted by anything that's positive. And we're more concerned about Atlanta housewives and hot Cheetos than we are about planting a seed and spending time and building relationships with your family and your community.
Absolutely.
I wanted to add on,
Absolutely.
but I thought we were talking about the school program, and they can eat whatever, all the Cheetos, or the teachers even give them candy all day, for treats or for a snack, for rewards, right? But we have the gardens at the school, but the kids can't eat the food from the garden.
They have to take it home and eat it. They can't eat it during the day.
Yeah.
For legal purposes, they can't eat the grown.
Because this is a corporation we call America, and everything is based off that consumerism. If you ain't consuming what we're selling, then you are not part of what we're doing. There have been people who have been shut down because they grew their own food, which makes no sense.
Such a contradiction to say that we're an educator, or this is supposed to be for education and for the betterment of these children. We're supposed to be producing, making them better, but we can contribute to, we can give them the candy, but this live food that is good for them, they should be having, and we should promote it in the school book that you're teaching, promoting them. These are what they should be eating. But when they finish this paper about that food, you'll give them a piece of candy, but they can't eat that food that they've been growing. That's really asinine to me.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Oh man, we're starting to run out of time. What I do want to do, I want to talk about, because you're currently fundraising, correct?
Yes.
Can you talk more about that? And I want to promote that as well.
Okay. Yeah. We our mission get around, and we have three garden sites here in the city. This being one here, Jukobie Garden, also at the Evolve Education Center on 42nd and Millsville Road, and then at the Belmont Beach over there on White River Parkway. So our thing is we have the RV, so we can service all of our sites, and also work with our partners in Fort Wayne, and the Smiley's Garden up there, and the Human Agriculture Co-op in Bloomington with Three Flock Farm. Also in Salem with the Prairie Hills Farm with the Friend family. So we're going to be going around and traveling and actually teaching regenerative agriculture and working
Is
with our
Evansville part of that too?
huh?
Isn't Evansville or someplace southwest Indiana part of that as well?
Lyle Station, Denise Jamerson. Yeah, they are big in forming the Black Loan Conference, the Indiana Black Loan Conference, which has been instrumental in us building these relationships with other Black farmers here in the state and here in the region. But we're trying to raise our funds so we can get another truck, to have that truck outfitted to run off of used cooking oil, so we can pull our RV and go from spot to spot, and also teach regenerative agriculture, and also with the implication of use cooking oil as our fuel, to also kind of model the possibility of us having alternative ways of technology and another potential industry. Something we can do. We can start doing these conversions. Also, something we could corner and do ourselves. But that's our biggest thing right now is to GoFundMe. So we need some support in acquiring the truck. Our car just went out yesterday, so it's kind of like when it rains, it pours. So that our biggest thing is to GoFundMe for raising money for the truck, and to finish outfitting the RV so we can be solar fitted and have everything we need while we're out on the road and doing our Sustainable Saturdays, our regenerative living curriculum and workshops.
Okay. Well, let's do this. We'll wrap up and we will have to have everyone back because there's some other things that we definitely need to touch on from that land ownership piece. We kind of talked about that in the beginning and some other stuff. And plus, we want to know more about you as a couple doing this because this is absolutely phenomenal. And I just want to compliment your energy. Like when y'all first logged on, I was like, wow, it's just beautiful, right? I'm sure y'all probably have y'all issues sometimes, but it's really refreshing to see y'all working together as a unit and making a difference and impacting the masses. Like that's a dream. That's one of my dreams. So thank you.
I want to say, excuse me. I just want to say this is a power couple.
That's okay. Absolutely. Absolutely.
I'm glad.
Absolutely. All right. So where can everybody find you all? Um, how can we find y'all?
So our website, maybe I think it's in the chat.
Mhm,
Um,
mhm.
org. You can go to our website, look us up, explore our website, our ministry. However, we do have a book that my love he wrote. It gives you a breakdown of my nine, who we are, what we believe in. It has the 42 ideals and negative confessions of my aunt. So if you're at any way interested in Kemetic teachings or Rastafari teachings, or just where those two things come from and how they intersect, you can find that in our book. It's on the website. Also, you can find us on Facebook.
You can download the book free.
Yeah, you can download the book free, and then you can check it out on your Kindle or your cell phone or your tablet. And you can check us out on Facebook at the Haughville Homestead Couple. We're also on Facebook at my aunt's Urban Agriculture and Industry. That's the business page. You can take a look at that on Facebook, and follow our story and see.
Please,
Right.
please support. Come and engage. Friday nights we hold our reasonings. Reasonings is really us getting together in the Rastafari. We build on tangible solutions, on things that we can do. As our religion. Being revolution is not about any kind of superstition, no spookism, no God. It's about real things going on right here and holding ourselves accountable and being creators of our own reality. So we need to take control of that. So if we come to build and reason and actually come to a consensus amongst one another with a code in propagating, protecting, and sustaining life, Everything should be about life, and everything life is God. So, and that's what we base everything on, and everything is propagated out of the masculine and the feminine principle. That's universal order, universal law. That's how it works. So everything about us operates on that principle, and we want to embody and model that for everybody. We got the narrative right now out here about the man versus woman, the back and forth that goes on, but that they know that us together, that is God. That's that God energy, that frequency with us together. We are the creators. We create. So we have to be that, and we have to come back into that knowledge. And with my art, that's to bring it back to that reckoning, to that consciousness, that awareness. In this realm, we have to come and identify with our own culture and come to a code, a consensus of understanding amongst ourselves. We have to give back everything that they've given us. That comes to their religion, their diet, so their economy, all that is theirs, and it was designed for them, and at the cost of us for their benefit. So we have to know that and recognize that. And as Dr. John Henry Clark said, that everything that touches your life, religiously, politically, and socially, it should be an instrument of your liberation. If not, they throw it in the ash can of history. So movement and what we're doing is embodying those principles and what he spoke on. If there's going to be a religion, if it's a Christian religion, or if it's going to be a Judaism religion, whatever it's going to be, let it be a religion, a revolution for us. What I'm saying, that we author and that we do and we move forward. So my Ot 9 is what that is. And that movement is for us to move forward as a people, for us, and fighting for self-sufficiency and liberation for all. We got to restore that by bringing things back to that natural order, back to that balance and observation of my art.
Right. Absolutely. Jukobie, where can they find you?
I'm on all major social media. Knowledge Based Solutions, also knowledgebasedsolutions.com.
Okay. So, any last words of wisdom, any affirmation for our listeners?
I could just I'll chime in on that real quick. I know there's in stuff like this. I just want to just emphasize the importance of the relationship that we have with food, the relationship that we have with self, the relationship we have with our family. It all starts with what we consume. It all starts with what we consume in our bodies and in our minds. And I believe in Stebo. I believe in Chris. I believe in what they're doing. And if you follow what they're doing, you follow what KBS is doing, you'll get a lot of information. You'll get a lot of insight on, just positive, and things that need to be done in order to thrive, not just survive.
What I would want you
Absolutely.
to say is, my takeaway is this: we have to know that everything in this construct, this way of life that we know, we have to consider everything that we don't want as being part of it, and we
Mm-hmm.
contribute to that, because it wouldn't be possible without it. So when we consider the prison industrial complex, the military industrial complex, the health industrial complex, nonprofit industrial complex, all these things, the profit is in the problem for them, and all that is predicated on us being subjected to the conditions that push us into those ways, or into those areas where we can be, you know, we the prey, and we fall subject to that. So we have to move away from that. But as long as we're still stuck in celebrating the standards that they present and going after that, we contribute to our own degradation. So these little things right here we're using, think about it. We have children going down in holes hundreds of feet deep with no kind of equipment, who are giving their lives to go down here and reap this mineral, toxic mineral that they handle with their hands. Is radioactive and everything, but they're losing their life and limb so we can brag about who's got the iPhone versus Android. You know, every month we have a holiday where everybody's consuming all this chocolate, which now is still using child slave labor to consume this chocolate, to make this chocolate that they've never had a chance to consume in their life. They don't know what it tastes like. But here it's a standard. It's common. We have them, at the cash register. So the relationship that we should understand is that everything is connected. Everything is relative. So when we're okay with it, turn a blind eye to it, as long as it's not happening to our people or to our own family members, but everything comes back home, comes back to us, like MLK said. You know, we every injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. We're all in this web and everything's interconnected. So what affects one directly affects all indirectly. So we have to come to that realization. We can't celebrate the good in it without realizing that the bad is part of it. So we got to change and move outside that paradigm.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. Well, thank you all for joining us, and we will have y'all back, right? We definitely have to have this conversation. I love divine connections and divine information. And this conversation has been extremely powerful. And I love that we've had it. And one thing I wanted to do with Relationship Soup is I don't want to have conversations that everybody's having. I don't need all the rah-rah and all that. The entertainment piece is cool, but knowledge and wisdom is life at the end of the
Amen.
day. So, for all of our listeners, thank y'all so much for joining us. Again, if y'all ain't following Relationship Soup, y'all need to be on YouTube. We are Relationship Soup. Period. You got to put the period. Now, YouTube made me do it. They made me put the period. And then on Facebook, Relationship Soup LLC, Relationship Soup Group. Make sure that you're joining that. We're still 25K strong. So come and join the conversation. So my words of wisdom for you all is just love yourself and have a great rest of your week. We love you. And thanks again for listening.
Bless.